moving like anything. It's now $52,000.
Yes, it should move so that people are interested on that part.
Yeah. In last 6 months, I think it got doubled.
What?
In the last 6 months, Bitcoin price got doubled.
Last 6 months it got double, but last 1 or 2 years it got 1 by 6. That is why now it's visible that it's doubled.
Yeah.
People who are holding it for longer time, like 3 or 4 years back, now they are seeing, yes, I mean, it was good.
Yeah. It reached almost 64 to 65,000. 65,000.
Correct.
And it came up to 16,000 again.
60.
1/5 almost.
Okay, so we are live at the moment on LinkedIn, and I'm also recording this particular session. So so this is the place where I have placed everything. So this agenda part, and then whatever you have shared those pictures or PDF, I converted them into text so that if anybody is trying to search, it's optimized for that.
Okay.
Agendas, video, sample project file, and prerequisites, and all your diagrams at the bottom. And this is the for session number 1. So session number 1 post, links to join, and agenda. And this is the recording for session 1. If anybody would like to see the recordings, they can click over here, and it's .ts file. They can download it. This is for session 1, and same for session number 2. So we have all the steps over here. So session 1 recording is here. Where is session 2 recording? Okay, I will update on session 2 recording of session 1 as well. And this is the session number today's. So here we have, yes, I have inserted over here. So recording 1 and recording for session 2. And after this session, I will record it and put the video link over here. This is for anybody who is following. Alternatively, they can also go to the LinkedIn and directly watch the recordings. Like if anybody goes and come here. So this is today's event. Similarly, this is the last event, session 2. And this, this I believe this is 2 weeks back. It means this was the session 1 recording. So either they can directly go to the LinkedIn page and just play here. If they have IDM downloader or any downloader, they can also download these recordings because they are not protected. Or they can go to this particular wiki page, which is under Hyperledger India chapter. If somebody goes to Hyperledger India regional chapter, something, this is the link we are using, because in Hyperledger everything is open. So we have a dedicated bridge, and this bridge is used for broadcasting the LinkedIn live event or Zoom meetings. So we are using this particular bridge. So if you're watching on LinkedIn and you wanted to connect and have a questions, you can directly click over this link and you will join us in the Zoom. With there, you can ask specific questions. If you wanted to go see where it is located, so just go to the Hyper chapter, Student Society, this fourth one at the bottom, blockchain skill up, and then you have all these 4 steps. So this is the admin part or the documentation part. Okay, so I believe there are a few people joined here and a few people on the LinkedIn. So let's get started for today's session.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just give me one more moment. So hello everybody, welcome to the session 3 of blockchain scale up. So we already did first part in 2 weeks back, and second part was last week, and this is the third and final part for the complete full stack development. So whatever questions you have, question curiosity, if you are on the LinkedIn live, you can directly post over there as well. And if you would like to have direct communication or direct question answering, then you can join the LinkedIn live and migrate to this particular Zoom bridge. And we have time until 11:30, almost 85 to 90 minutes. And in between, we will have short break of 5 or 10 minutes so that you can have a good questions and answer session. So thank you, Pawan, for joining and staying with us for this particular training. And this is, of course, the initial training, and we'll plan more such trainings for the student community at large. And over to you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining this session again. So as per the agenda we defined, right? So we will be going through all of them. So we are remaining with the 2 sessions. Sorry, 2 sections. So let me just share my screen. All right. So as per the agenda we have, okay, we have completed first 4 sections, where first it was the introduction, basic concept of the hyperledger fabric. Next one is the creation of the network, and finally, blockchain explorer also we are done. API creation also we have done in the last session itself. So we'll be talking about today front end, actually how we can connect with the API, and we'll be taking one more thing like transaction flow again, because now we are about to complete this session, right? This is the last session, and I wanted to cover again the core concept of the hyperledger fabric, so that we'll try to correlate like how when you are invoking the transaction, what kind of data is getting added into the transaction again into the block. So everything we are going to see here. Okay, let me share my sorry, let me jump to the VS Code. All right, so I have already my network up and running, and for that previously we have run blockchain network. After that we have started API server as well in the last session itself. So I will be continuing from that part itself. Or if you wanted to create again, you can do it. Just we have to follow certain the same steps. First, creation of the certificate authority, creation of the certificate, uh, create then configuration block, run all the services, create channel and deploy code. These are the steps for creation of the blockchain network. And after that, for the API, we have important thing as a connection profile. And in the connection profile, it is getting automatically created when you are creating the certificate, because there is a dedicated function. Let me just show you here. Channel create certificate with CA and create certificate CA.ss. At the bottom, there is one function. This function is responsible for creating connection profile. I'm just going there and creating it. And so that we can see here connection profile for organization 1 and organization 2. I have only 2 organizations right now as per the network topology. So I'm just creating. And another one thing, this API server is acting on the behalf of both of the organization. We are storing everything here. I mean, we are running only one service as the API server. Let me just share the transaction flow now. Yeah, here. So in ideal case, every organization should host their own API server because they don't trust on each other. That's why they created the blockchain network, right? So in that case, they will create a separate service and have a confidential data like public key, private key for their own users in the organization, confidential. So it is recommended to have their different API services itself. But right now, this single API server is acting for all the organization. We have only two organization. This transaction flow I was talking about. Yeah, here we have two organization and the transaction flow is working like this. User is sending to the API is sending sign proposal to the peer zero of this own organization, and peer zero is doing everything. It's collecting the sufficient endorsement from other peers, collecting all the endorsement responses and sending to the orderer. Orderer creating the block and send, and these peers are pulling that block actually directly. Once they get a block, they decode the transaction, decode the block and get all the transaction, validate the transaction, and finally that data get committed into the ledger. Okay. So for that purpose, we require connection profile. So connection profile is the entry point for the client where he will be sent, we will be connecting with that particular peer. And in the connection profile, we have this information, peers URL, like where exactly it is running, and the TLS certificate to get connected with the peer. Okay. So this information we have for the peer, and so even while registering and enrolling the user, right, we require the certificate authority information. So that's why we have certificate authority related information as well. ca.urban.example.com and finally TLS certificate get connected with the certificate authority. Okay, this is the entry point. In the API again, we have other things like I'm just following the standard structure, controller, model, services. Okay, route is the entry point. So we had discussed about the agreement management, right? So we are creating the agreement, approving the agreement, getting the agreement. So these all the operations we are going to do again from the front end now. Okay, API we had already running last session itself. Now it's time to start the UI. UI is just straightforward. It's not very complex or something. So you have to first of all just come here on the inside the UI folder and just run running all the dependency by running npm install. Okay, this is a mandatory step for the first time, and whenever you are updating any kind of dependency inside this folder, you wanted to use some kind of library, then you have to install that dependency and it will get added into the package.json file. So it's having some basic components. I will show you so how the UI looks like. Let me just okay. So inside the UI folder, we have to run this npm start. Okay. So once you run this npm start, our server will be up and running, and the server will look like this. 30. Okay. UI is already running. Okay. I just run, I mean, before some time only. Okay. So npm start, you have to run in the UI folder, and we will be able to see this kind of UI. Here we have two things, registration and the login. So I made initially some of the assumptions. What happens? Login is straightforward, like user will use username and the password, he will be able to get inside the system. Another one thing, registration. Registration will happen when I wanted to be a part of one of the organization. He will just register from here. He will select the organization one or two and department as well. And after that, once you are creating the account, so the user will create it there, but the status would be inactive. Now, admin of that particular organization need to go in the user management and activate him explicitly. Then only he will be able to access it. For that purpose, we have this registration screen. Now let's try to log in into the system. So what are the default username and the password? In API server, we have we have added some of the users. Okay, default these are the bootstrap script we can say. And whenever we are starting the server, it's just checking if this user is available. If not, then it will adding actually. It will just register, install everything it does on the certified authority as well. And the wallet, inside the wallet, will have the identities, public and the private key for these users. So let me just try to log in with this one. Okay. By default, user is there, and we are providing the password from the .ini file. Okay, inside the .ini file, we have some of the confidential data. This is required, and you will not get in the code actually. You have to create by your own. I am providing the sample actually in example. So there you can just add your own data. Okay, first MongoDB URL related information you have to add. Either it could be localhost, or I'm using Atlassian. It's give us 500 MB free. So you can just use the same. You can create the cluster there on the MongoDB. It's a free, so you can create account and just create any kind of cluster and inside the database. You can use the same username and the password where you will create on Atlassian itself. You will create username and the password. And you have to put it here inside the .ini file. Okay, another one thing, a basic secret. This is the secret which is getting used in the JSON Web Token signing. So you can use any. It's totally up to you. AWS credentials, we need to have these credentials for S3 bucket because we are putting these files, document our files on the S3 bucket. That's why we require this access key, AWS secret access, and a bucket name. Okay, these three things are required. Other than that, we can just have some other. Okay, common password. This is the common password we are using for registering the default user. So you can use your own, maybe different, or you can use separate for each user. Okay, so this is the straightforward flow. Another one thing, so when we are land on this dashboard screen, right? So we have a couple of sections. Dashboard is there, admin is there, where we are showing the user list, and even we have option to activate or deactivate the user. So this admin section is visible only to the admin user of the organization. We have different type of user, right? Normal user and admin user. And normal user won't be able to see this section, but only the admin from that organization. Contract history, if you wanted to see the contract history, like how many operations we have done, so that can be checked from this section, where we will just add the contract ID or agreement ID here, and we will be able to see all the history, all the transaction associated with that ID. The profile is just a user profile, normal thing. Okay, let's come on to the dashboard now. The dashboard, we have different sections. You can see in progress, active, expiring soon, and all. It just added a separate section tab. So we have a status of the agreements, right? In progress or active or expiring soon. Expiring soon, it means within the next 130 days. If end date of the contract is about to reach, then we'll be able to see all those contract under this expiring soon. All contract will show all the contract. Doesn't matter what kind of progress we have. Okay. So now I'm going to create one contract. Okay, I will just go through the basic component of the UI once. Okay, this is the main entry point. Admin is the main component of, not admin, sorry, dashboard, right? Okay, contact list. This is the main component. Okay, so inside this we have everything. So if you're familiar with the React JS, then you will be able to understand it's a very, I mean, straightforward. We are just adding some additional tabs here, and on inside the tab we have some components. Let me just show you. Add new contract button is there, and after that in progress, and we are just selecting, okay, this item, tab one. If tab one is selected, we are just redirecting. Okay, so where it is getting active tab. Okay, these are the tab, and depending on, I mean, on click actually, we are selecting the specific tabs. And when you are selecting any specific tab, so it is getting redirected on these different specific components. Actually, we have this component. Let me just show you here. Okay, this contract, in progress contract is one component, and this is the common component getting used. I'm just passing the status, and you will be able to see the different status inside this contract list. when they are fetching the data, we can use this property to just fetch the in progress contract. Okay. A contract view is the component where we are loading all the contract list, and inside the contract we can see we are fetching the contracts. Let me just show you that part. Okay, refresh data, get contract. Get contract is the method where we are. I mean, I'm using the Redux here. I will dispatch the action get agreement. You can see the reducer. Okay, these are the reducers actually we are using, and at the top we have action. So generally in the React, what happens whenever we are invoking any kind of a reducer here, get agreements, right? So this will get triggered from the actions. In the agreement.js, we have different actions defined. And whenever I'm getting agreement, let's consider this is the thing. From here, we will have actually API call. And using XCS, I'm making the API call. I'm getting the response. And once I get a response, I'm creating the, I mean, triggering the reducer here. And get agreement. And you will be able to see this action inside the reducer itself. And get agreement, and we are assigning the state. So this is the central, we can say this is the central state where it is, I mean, it will get managed here. So I will create one contract and I will show you how the Redux looks like for this application. Okay, I'm just creating one random contract here. This is a sample data, and as per your use case, you can just change. Okay, here we have a document, and inside the document, I mean, the document is just a PDF file. I'm just going to select. Okay, test document I'm selecting, and we'll be able to see it later on. So I am going to create the contracts for this. Okay, so let me refresh. Okay, we can see here this contract get created, and we have different things for this contract, like whatever the information we fed, right? So it is displaying here an agreement file. This is the test file I was talking about. So this file data is getting stored on the blockchain, not, and file is getting stored on the S3 bucket. When I'm clicking on this, you can see it's redirecting to the S3 bucket, that particular, and this is not the public URL, this is a private URL. So I am just before showing clicking on the I mean fetching the data. So I am just creating the signed URL. I'm adding some additional signature at the end of this URL. So that's why we are able to fetch this PDF itself directly, and this PDF could be anything. Okay, this is the document. When I'm okay, now I was talking about the Redux, right? So okay, so this is the state actually I was talking about, right? In the inside the agreement we have agreements data. Inside the data we have only one agreement right now. So all the data will get updated here, and any component in the application can just check all the details. And these are the action state. You can see everything. So here, and if we have admin, okay, if I'm clicking on the admin, so we'll be able to see the users as well here. Okay. Okay. So we'll be able to see the users as well somewhere here. So for, okay, this is the blockchain data, and inside the data we have actually contracts, related information, documents, everything. Okay. So I wanted to show one more thing here in the agreement itself. In the CouchDB, I will show how the agreement looks like. Okay. So there are a lot of collections inside this CouchDB. Our our main collection, like where we are storing actual data, it's a channel name underscore smart contract name. So our channel name is my channel, and the smart contract name is the agreement. So I'm just going inside the agreement, and we'll be able to see different kind of data. Maybe this one or some, it could be anything else. I just take any kind of a, agreement actually. From the top, we have all the fields which we have provided from the front end, as well as we are adding some additional metadata as well. See, this is the document I was talking about. We are not storing the actual document, but instead of that, we are putting the hash of that particular file and some other relevant metadata like who has created name, ID of the file, organization name, and the URL where we put that S3 bucket. Uh, we put that document on the S3 bucket. Okay. So this is the thing we generally, and how we can validate this. Like let's consider on the S3 bucket if someone has access as admin and they change the document, maybe added some additional content or remove some sensitive data like price and all. So again, what we can expose one interface on the front end itself where a user can just upload the same document and get validated. So at the API side, what we can do, we can just create the hash of the uploaded document by the user and compare the hash with the blockchain hash. If it is matching, then we can say the document is correct and it's not tempered. But if there is a small change, then we can consider this document is tempered, because if you're changing anything inside the document, this hash will get changed, the full hash will get changed. So that way we can consider this document is tempered actually. Okay, this document information related to this contract, we have end date, first party, second party, organization. So whatever the attributes you wanted to have, it's up to us actually. So we have to consider all the, and in nested objects and everything we can have, even we can create a separate collection as well directly. I mean a document type we so we will have only one collection in access actually here, right? My internal underscore agreement. Inside that, all the data associated with this smart contract will get added in this collection itself. So how we can segregate the data? Segregation of the, I would say, like this is document, this is approval or something. Okay, so that can be so identified using some kind of additional parameter document type, and where we can just index these things. So we'll be able to get all the agreement, all the approvals, or maybe some other document using this kind of attributes. Okay. Okay. Another one thing, when I'm in the admin section. Okay. Before that, I wanted to show one more thing. Here, approving the agreement actually. So I'm just logging out now. We have created this agreement from organization to. We'll try to log in and just we'll approve it from there itself. User 330, I think. 331 is the user now from organization 2. Okay, we can see this agreement now. It is in progress. I can approve it from here itself. I'm adding the approval. Approved, I'm adding here. I'm just adding the approval. Okay, let me just check what is there. Okay, it's got added. So it's taking little time. Now we will be able to see the agreement in the active status. In progress, we should not see actually, it's not getting reflected immediately because I did not refresh once I add the data. In the active status, when I'm clicking on the view, we should be able to see uh, the approvals as well at here itself. Let me just check. My laptop is behaving a little different. Okay, view, approvals based. We should have the approvals here actually. So I'm just trying to check that. Okay, you can see here, right? Multiple approvals, multiple times I think I have done here because of this Zoom meeting and blockchain network is running, and that's why the resources are very limited. So that's why it's taking little time for me. Okay, these are the approvals we can see. Whatever the approvals, admin 331. This is the user from organization 2 who has added multiple approvals. So it's totally up to us how we wanted to implement our use case. Okay, you can just change and tweak with this use case itself, and you can implement your own as well in case if you want, or you can take the reference for some certain transactions flow or something. Okay, so this is the all about contract details, how we are adding approving. Okay, so Another one thing, in the cows DB, I'm just adding additional approvals. Let me just show. Okay, this is the approval document. And we can see here document type is the approval. So I am just adding a indexing for the same thing so that I can get all the approvals of some specific agreement. Here is the agreement ID. And I think I index some of the fields where I can just fetch. If we have millions of records, so in that case, fetching through all the records is not the correct way. So that's why we need to have a proper indexing. And if you are if you are fetching the data, like I want all the approvals of this specific or agreement, then that will play a very vital role. That's indexing. You will be able to fetch the data within maybe milliseconds, maybe 50 millisecond or 100 milliseconds. It totally depends on the resource configuration. Okay, so this is the approval document, and again I'm appending the same thing on the agreement itself. Just show you. Okay, here we can see. So you can see here revision is getting updated. So RE underscore REV is the revision of this current state database, and I made second operation on the same asset. This is the asset ID and contract ID, I would say. And previously the data was different. Now, as per the current operations, we added approvals. I just updated the same document by adding this approval as array, and we are continuously adding the approvals on the same thing. So all the information is still there, but it's getting added. And one more thing, in the revision, we have to set it is showing as a two, right? Here it is showing us two. What is the value we have here? This is the hash of that particular document. Okay, MD5. So we can just check how many times we have updated our document by using this in the couch db itself. This is the current state database, by the way. And in the chain of the blockchain explorer, let me just refresh this. Okay, 55 block created, and before 3 minutes we created some transactions, right? So 64 transactions are there, and inside the transaction, let's see. I wanted to show one thing here. I'm doing multiple key value pair updation inside the single transaction. That's why we are able to see multiple transactions. Okay, let me just check in the block itself, so we'll be able to see the transactions here. Okay, at the right side you can see there are two hashes. It means two transactions are there inside that. This one. I'm just checking whatever the data we have added right now. The size of should be here. We'll have the key and value here itself, like agreement data we're adding, right? We need to check exactly the same transaction, so we'll be able to identify it. So we have a lot of loss here. Okay, here we have, yeah. Okay, this is the transaction we just before some time, and this is the data. So this value could be anything. It's just an object. We are adding a string here. It could be a string. It could be an object, or it could be a binary. It totally depends on our use case, how we wanted to ingest it. So for this key, I'm just adding this value. So value could be anything. It's totally up to us, like how we wanted to add this value. So I'm adding as a JSON stringified version of the object. So it's having everything. The same thing I was showing in the cows DB, right? So inside the block as well, we have everything. So if we are making multiple transactions in the cows DB, we always have the latest value. Okay, for this agreement right now, we have one more additional action which we added as approval. But what is the previous value? How we can get it? In the couch DB, we cannot get it. Only the current latest value of that particular ID get stored inside the couch DB. But in the chain of the block, we can just get the full history actually for this total. So any point of time, we can just get the history for particular key, and we'll be able that data will get fetched from this chain of the block itself here from this. And where exactly the chain of the block is available? Let me just show that part as well. Okay, so inside the peer, I will show you. Okay, Docker exec IT. Okay, this is the command for going inside the peer, right? So ls cd slash var production. So this is the data main folder actually slash var slash hyperledger slash production, where everything is getting stored actually inside the peer. And this data only we are using for this blockchain explorer part. We're not directly fetching from there, but blockchain explorer is a separate service. So which is fetching the data from that particular peer on the behalf of organization, and it's storing inside the PostgreSQL database, and from there we are fetching the data. But if there is an addition transaction, it's getting immediately reflected in the blockchain explorer as well, because blockchain explorer has some kind of listeners. Whenever new block get created, that will get added to the blockchain explorer uh, PostgreSQL database as well. Okay, so chain codes, external builder, ledger data. This is the actual chain of the block I was talking about inside the peer. We okay. So let's go to the ledger data. Okay, this is the block file. Okay, inside the my channel, I mean, it depends on if you have multiple channels for that organization, we'll be able to see multiple channel here. But we have only one, and inside this we have a block file. So block file, I mean, generally block files created after every 64 MB. We have multiple blocks inside this file, and if it is reaching 64 MB size, it is going to create a new file like block file 00001, something like that, and again it will feed the data till 64 MB. Doesn't matter how many blocks are there. So inside this, let me show you cat. We can just copy paste this and try to read this. Okay, it's having all the information, certificates, values, and everything, like who is creating data, what kind of data, read side and write side I was talking, right? So another one thing, I will show you how exactly the transaction block looks like and transaction also looks like. Okay, block.json we can see. Okay, this is the actual block. When I'm getting, there are some APIs to fetch the data. Okay, get block by block number and get transaction by transaction ID. Another one thing I wanted to mention, there are some system chain codes inside the Hyperledger Fabric. We don't need to worry on that. Fabric manages everything and it comes with the binaries itself. Okay. First thing is the ESCC. ESCC is the endorsement system chain code, which is available on the endorsing peer. And the read state and write state creation happens, right? Using that chain code itself, signing of the transactions, everything happens using ESCC. That is the first system chain code. Second one is the CSCC, configuration system chain code. If you wanted to make some kind of update like adding organization, removing organization, or any kind of administrative operation, adding anchor peer or something, that is the system CSCC, configuration system chain code. Next one is the uh, VSCC, validation system chain code. At the final phase, there is a VSCC execution happens where like validations of the transaction, or like say it has sufficient endorsements and all. Okay, that is the third one. Fourth one is a QACC. QACC is mainly responsible for getting this kind of data from directly blockchain. Get transaction by transaction ID, get block by block number, get block by transaction ID, something like that. Okay, when I'm getting this data, we'll get this kind of JSON data, and inside this we'll have the buffer data as well, like actual signature will be available inside the buffer. This blockchain explorer is doing the exactly same thing. It's decoding the data and showing us. Okay, so inside the block we'll have a number of transactions, right? Depending on the configuration how we do. So here is the signature payload. Again, the signature like signature of the creator who has created the transaction. We have actions, chain code proposal payload. So again, we have different arguments to for passing the data. Whatever data we pass, we have proposal response payload where we read it and write it. We will be able to see it. You can see it, right? Read it and write it. And this is the make model owner key and the value I was talking about, right? Now finally, we'll have the endorsement of the transactions, like who has endorsed the transaction, peer, organization one, organization two. Endorsement always happen on the organization level. So you have to make sure these endorsements will be done by the peer, but it will happen on the organization basis. Let's consider we have 5 peer inside the organization, and we are considering one organization from the organization, one endorsement from the organization one. So in that case, any peer can be act as a endorsing peer if they have the chain code. We do not require all the 5 peer approvals. We require only one endorsement from any one of the peer from that organization. And this is the endorsement structure exactly inside the block. And at the bottom, we will have the metadata. Metadata, like who has created the block. Again, the signature, right? Who has created the block and the signature of the particular orderer, like who has signed the block. At the bottom, we have some additional value. One more thing inside the metadata, the value. Okay, this array, I mean, a lot of people, I'm not sure whether they are already aware. So this is the where our transaction status gets stored. In the transaction itself, we will not have the status, it's a valid or invalid. But this array, we have as a metadata. Zero status means transaction status is valid. Within this block, if we have 10 transactions, we'll have different 10 different statuses, like inside the array itself. So we have only one transaction, that's why it is showing one value inside the array. And zero status means the transaction status is valid itself. Okay, so this is the structure of the block. And inside the transaction, again, transaction structure would be the same. You can just consider this part. This the from inside the data we considered multiple object, right? So this is the transaction structure we were just going through. We can have a number of transactions within the block, and inside the transaction we have this information: proposal response, endorsements, and everything. If you wanted to go to more granular level. Okay. So any question or doubt here? Okay. So I will just show you how to persist the data because I did not cover that part yet and I wanted to show now. Okay. Docker compose file. You could see in the code itself, I have commented one of the line in the volumes slash var for one slash order, and inside this container slash var hyperledger production, which I just showed you, right, for peer service, where actual data is getting stored. Before starting any kind of production network, we have to persist the data actually, and it could be on the local machine or maybe somewhere else. It's totally up to you. But we have to persist the data because if I'm doing the Docker and now if services are getting restarted or maybe it's going down for some time, we will lose everything if we're not persisting the data. So that's why we need to persist this different folder inside the services. Orderer, for orderer we have this slash var hyperledger production. We are storing inside the slash var for one orderer. I mean it's commented right now. I did not persist, but it is recommended way because I was doing multiple operation in front of you guys. So that's why so for understanding purpose, I was just creating the network again. but it is recommended way to just persist your data whenever you are creating any kind of network. And so you don't need to create the certificate channel deploying the chain code, because it will be always there if you have persisted the data. You have to do the persistence for only orderer and the peer. CouchDB will get created automatically on the fly, but for CouchDB also you can do that's also fine. If you have a lot of data, that CouchDB will get automatically synced with the peer, but yeah, it will take some time. If you have millions of record, then if for CouchDB also you can purchase the data. Otherwise, it will our network will be down until unless the CouchDB gets synced with the peer. For peer also we have one same thing like slash var. I'm just mounting with Pawan or one. Sorry, Pawan slash peer 0 or 1, and inside the container slash var hyperledger production. Okay, this is the folder where actually I'm just processing the data on the local machine. So even though now network goes down, I should be able to I should be able to run the services from the last point actually, like how many transactions already we had. From that point itself, we will be able to run this different services, and we will not lose any kind of data. This is very important for considering any kind of production grade application. Any any doubt or something? I think we have limited audience, and we you guys can ask questions like
Yeah.
where.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, we have one down. Yeah, is ledger data or the blockchain details are also stored in the orderer, or my understanding was it is stored only in the peers.
No, no. On orderer also we have it. Let me show you that. That's really interesting. Orderer will have only the blockchain, not the current state database.
Okay, blockchain data is, so once the block is committed, that block will be added to the ledger blockchain of the order also. Is it like that?
Yes, yes. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, fine.
okay, let me show that part first. CD. Okay. CD order. Okay, change here, right? Inside the change we'll have same block file we have here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
So we'll have
like,
exactly. Mhm, yeah, please.
yeah, so once the block will be created by the order, isn't it? So
Yes,
after
yes,
that, it
yes.
will be given to the committing peer. So once that block is committed, then only this block file will be updated.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So as per the transaction flow here, right? When we're creating the block, this orderer, now I mean, orderer will not send the block actually, as per my understanding. So generally, peer have some kind of one mechanism where they just keep pulling the data from the orderer if there is any update. And this block they get create. I mean, they once they get the block right, they will validate. See, orderer do not have validation whether transaction is valid or invalid, right?
Yes, yes,
So that
yeah.
will get validated at the committing phase, and peer will just add additional things. This is really interesting. I mean, very few people have the understanding on this. Like peer and orderer will have exactly same block. Yes, they will have exactly same block structure, transactions, and everything, other than the metadata. I just showed you, right? The transact. Sorry, this
Same
block
here, same.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let me just show you sample file. Okay, block right at the bottom there is a metadata, and this is the peer block. Okay, I just fetched this peer block previously, so the status will get added here itself inside the peer, not in the orderer, because peer is doing that validation. The status of the transaction is valid or not. But let's consider this peer just lost everything, and they will again fetch data from the block, this orderer. And order they can also do the same thing again, validation can happen, and same thing will come as output, and they will put as the status this 0 or 1. And in the explorer also we are checking, we are seeing this same thing, status of the transaction. Where is it? Let me just show you. Okay, status of the transaction is valid, right? There are a lot of different kind of statuses, 1 2 3 4 something, and they will show specify certain endorsement failure or maybe invalid signature, something like that. There are a lot of actually, when you go inside the actually code, we'll be able to see it. This is the only different part we will have inside the block with orderer and the peers. Yeah, is that answer your question or any
Yes,
doubt?
yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. Now let's move to the next part. On the transaction flow, again, I will come here. So see, this user is sending this transaction to the API side. Okay, and API is responsible for creating the signed proposal. Now, how signed proposal works, I have already explained. Like it will just create a hash will get signed with the private key of the client, and it put as a digital signature. And this signature is put in the signed proposal and proposal by both of them. This is called a signed proposal with signature, right? And the validation phase, again, the signed proposal comes at the peer. Peer will just get the signature, decrypt with the public key of the user, because public key is also available inside the signed proposal. We'll get one digest, that is the hash. And proposal byte we have again in the signed proposal. They can convert a hash. If both hashes are equal, it means the transaction is valid, and transaction done by some specific user, and he has a certificate from trusted certificate authority, then we can say this is a valid transaction. And in the configuration block, we have already put the certificate of the certificate authority. Let me just show you the configuration block or Genesis block we were talking, right? Maybe channel block we can say. These are the configuration block. Actually, we'll have Okay. Actually, we'll have all the information in the channel. Okay. It will just follow the structure, data, header, metadata. Okay. Inside the data, again, we'll have the same hierarchy. This is actually configuration block for the channel. Okay. Genesis block, we can say. Inside the data header, config, last update, channel group mod policies value. This is actual, all the policies are getting added here. Okay, in the groups where application and orderer, let's see the application again. I mean, it will just follow the same hierarchy: group, mod policies, values. Okay, so application or go on, we have multiple organization, right? Again, inside the organization, we have policies: who is the admin, who is the endorser, and it's specifying the value. Okay, let me just show. Okay, so in the application channel, we have multiple organization org1 groups, modification policies admin. Okay, what policy define admin, modification policy admin. This can be modified, I think, from the admin user itself. And policy says identities we require principal, MSP identifier is org1 MSP, and role is the admin. Then only they will be able to do kind of some such kind of operations and rules and everything. In out of is nothing but just specify the policy, like n out of 1 means even though there are three organizations, one is required to signed by 0. I mean, this specifies the actually policy, who can do what and everything. And this is the configuration block of the particular any kind of channel actually in the Hyperledger fabric. That's the main configuration block, we can say. This is little having little complexity to understand initially, but yeah, if you want to understand like what exactly they are doing, and because when we are doing the administrative operation, we need to understand this, then only we will be able to see it. So there are some additional things inside this configuration block. Let me just show. Okay, consenters, right? Okay, in the order section, we have all the configuration for how many. Okay, batch size and batch timeout is the thing where the block will get created. These are the two criteria. Okay, let's consider batch size is 10 and batch timeout is 2 seconds. Right now, that is the default configuration comes. What does it mean? So when orderer is getting a transaction here in the transaction flow, orderer is getting a transaction, how he will create a block, after what time he will create a block, how many transactions he can wait. So that configuration defined by this configuration block itself. Batch size is 10. It means if they are getting a 10 transaction, doesn't matter what is the time, they will create a block directly, this orderer. And within a 2 second, if they are getting one transaction, 2 second, two transaction, three transaction, doesn't matter. Within two second, if even though they are getting one transaction, they will immediately create a block. So this is the configuration which is available inside the configuration block itself, and we generally use that one file of this config.txt.yaml file where we have this batch time and batch size configuration while creating the configuration block itself. Here we have batch time and batch size, which is getting added inside that block, the sample the channel.json file here. Configuration block, I would say. We have consenters as well, like who are the orderers for this particular channel. So they will have a communication with each other, right? Directly, automatically. How they know each other. So that's why this is the tailor certificate for orderer, first orderer, second orderer, and the third orderer. We have this. They are running on some specific code. They will be able to communicate with each other once they start. We want to create a channel. Okay. Any other question? All right. Okay, these were the system change code, right? I think I already explained in last section and today's as well. Life cycle, ESCC, VSCC, QSCC, and CSCC. I will just show you QSCC how it works. Very system chain code. Okay. Inside the API, we have some specific endpoint exposed for that purpose itself. Routes QSCC. Okay, this is the QSCC. Okay, get. I have exposed two APIs, right? Get block by block number, get transaction by transaction ID. So let's see any one of them. Get block by block number. So this is the middleware, auth middleware, where we are validating the JSON web token whether user has permission or not to invoke this method. Okay, so I'm just going directly and get block by block number. It is not working fast. Controller. Okay, QSC now it came. Okay, here we have again in the QSCC service get block by block number. We are doing the exactly same thing. The difference would be the smart contract name. In the smart contract name, while creating the contract object itself, we have to provide a QACC. How we have to pass it? QACC small. This is the value of the chain code we have to pass where we wanted to query the transaction. And there are some predefined method in the QACC. Get block by block number, get transaction by transaction ID, get block by transaction ID, get chain code info. I think there are four methods if I'm not wrong. So these four method can be fetched using this. Once we get this result right, we have to decode the data block using block decoder. So this block decoder available inside the Fabric Common, and we have to decode the data because it's in the protocol format if I'm not wrong. So we have to convert it into JSON readable format, and we are just returning as it is, like decoded format of that particular JSON block. Okay, this is the method I was talking. So we can just fetch any kind of block or block number, and we'll be able to see the same what I have shown. Block one block file, right? JSON file I showed you. It was having one transaction only. And even for the get transaction by transaction ID as well, we have only method name different. Get transaction by transaction ID. We have to pass the transaction as ID. That's it. This is the only difference. For normal querying the data, we pass actually our smart contract name here. Okay, chain code name, we have our chain code name, right? Agreement. This is the only difference between our user defined smart contract and the system defined chain code, which is the QACC. Okay, just let me check if anything remaining. Okay, attribute based access control. I wanted to cover this part as well. Now, if organization has some kind of different kind of users, so let me just show you right now what kind of users we have in the wallet. Yeah, here. Okay, or one. Let's consider this user. I will just decode this data, decode the data for this particular user. This is the certificate we have for this user. I'm just converting in some specific format. Okay, this is the certificate for that particular user. Okay. Okay. This is the certificate, and when we decode it, okay, this is the certificate, common name admin, that particular user we have added. And here, when we are actually checking more details about the certificate, we have here department and role. Those are the attributes we defined. Right now, department is the empty string, and the role is the approval. These attributes we have added into the certificate while registering and the enrolling. We have to pass it if we wanted to use this. Okay, the certificate have this information already. Now, how we can get it? If we wanted to have certain kind of restrictions at the chain code level itself, we can just access this information. I will show the chain code now. Where there is one method I exposed already, which shows like we require some specific attributes for the user. Okay, ABAC, attribute-based access controller method is I just added. There is a client identity library which will give you this information, and there are multiple things. Okay, so inside the client identity we can get attribute value, ID, get ID byte, get MSP ID. MSP ID is the organization ID. So you can use any one of them and to have the restrictions. So let's consider some operation creation of the contract is restricted only for specific organization, right? So here we can just take if CID dot get CID dot get MSP ID equal to R1 MSP. If it is there, just allow, otherwise reject. You are not authorized to perform this operation. Or ID bytes also you can just get it, and attributes. Okay, this is the method I am using right now. Get attribute value, and I'm just passing department equal to financial or role equal to approval. It totally up to you which attribute you wanted to add, and you can add a number of attributes inside the certificate. So I'm just checking if this attribute department is equal to financial. If it is not, we are just showing you are not authorized to perform this operation. Only financial department user can do this operation. So this transaction will get rejected immediately, and will get error actually at the API side. You are not authorized to perform this operation. And both of the all of the peer have the same chain code, and they will be able to uh, give the same error actually, because they whoever is denoting the transaction identity would be same for all the interesting peers, and they will do the exactly same validation. So in this way we can just have additional restrictions in the chain code itself by defining certain attributes, or maybe it could be anything. So it's not department or a role or approval. So it's totally up to us like how we wanted to define kind of attributes. Another one thing, in the stub interface, whatever the stub interface we're using. So inside that we have a lot of methods. Let me just show you. Which encode stub. Okay, this one. So inside this stub, chain code stub, we have all the methods. Get argument used for getting all the arguments we are sending from the API side. And this is at the chain code layer. I'm just mentioning using different these functions, we can just get the data at the chain code. Get string arguments, get function and parameters, get transaction ID, get channel ID, get creator, get MSP ID, get transient. Okay, this is the method we use for getting the private data, because generally we will not get a data in a normal parameters. We have to use this get transient, get signed a proposal, get timestamp, date timestamp, get binding, get state, put state. So this is the major thing. I mean, majorly used method, get state and put state, because without that we cannot put data or get data. Delete state validation parameter, get state validation parameter. Lot of methods are there. You can just try to utilize this in your project if you have some such kind of requirement, and you will be able to identify. Get history for the key. This is the method where this is the method get history for the key, which is used for getting the history of that particular key, how many transactions we have done and all. invoke chain code. This is the method to invoking the other chain code from the same current chain code. Set event is for setting the event. We can just send the data actually whenever someone has listening the event. We can just set this event and they will get a trigger of one specific event is happening. Create composite key. This is for the indexing purpose again. Like we can create a composite key for faster performance. Split composite key. Get private data. Get private data has. These are the different methods actually. You have to understand these things because once you know all the I mean importance of this different method, then almost any kind of chain code you can create actually. These are the only methods right now. Any doubt on this? Any question or doubt here?
Yeah, can you please explain this composite key for what purpose?
Okay, you want me to explain composite key?
Yeah, what's the purpose of when use?
Okay. Composite key is combination of two different keys actually. So let's consider we have requirement, we have asset car, and for that purpose, we are defining owner. Okay, let me just show that exactly. We have okay. While creating a car, let's consider we have this kind of fields, right? Make, model, color, and owner. So for making the faster performance, we can define some kind of index name, owner, and key. Okay, like I want all the so right now when we are fetching the data, right, I want all the car of this particular owner. So we have to go through one by one every record, right? So how we can make it faster? Like if you have millions of data, then that would be a performance inefficient, right? It will just go through all our record. So for that purpose, if we're making any composite key on the owner and the key, so this way we can just create composite key, and this is the index name owner and the key. Using this, we will create one key with 0 byte value actually. It's having 0 byte value for this key. And later, if you wanted to get all the data of this particular owner, all the card for this particular owner, this composite key get used, and that would be kind of faster performance because we are creating an index on that owner and the key, and that's why we'll be able to fetch data very faster way. This is the main purpose of the composite key actually. We
Yes,
in
thank
the
you.
Yeah, so in CouchDB we have indexings actually. Okay, let me just show the indexes as well. If we, okay, we have here indexes, right? Design index underscore design, whatever the values you are able to see, right? Those are the indexes only. Index doc type, index status doc type. I just created this index. What it is specifying? Okay, I'm creating the index for the status and doc type. So using this index, I can just query the data like I want all the agreement with the status equal to this one and the document type equal to agreement, something like that. I want all the document from the CouchDB whose status is active and the document type is agreement or maybe the approvals, doesn't matter. So that query will be very faster because it will utilize this index and we have to specify explicitly that index as well. So how we can use the index, I will just give a brief on that. Okay, so this is the query I'm filtering. Okay, filter type dot all or filter type dot active. It could be anything. You can just check anyone. Selector or I'm just first party is this one or second party is this one. Doc type equal to agreement and use index. I'm explicitly mentioning use this index for fetching this query. Now you can just provide the index as set type or guide time. Okay, this is the index I created. It should be here itself. The indexes are available inside the chain code. Let me just show what indexes we created for this, and so we can get more idea. Okay, inside the chain code we have meta info, right? Inside the meta info, we have these indexes actually. It will automatically get created. You have to create here itself, and it will get automatically added inside the cow tipping. So here I'm creating the index. Okay, agreement ID by default it get created on the ID itself. Okay, but I'm explicitly adding a agreement ID as well because underscore ID and agreement ID is different. So I just try to make agreement ID also as an index field. End date. So there is a query, right? I wanted to get all the data. I mean, expiring 30 days or something. So that's why this index will help me to get all the agreements which are getting expired within next 30 days. And how I'm just fetching the data. So yeah. Expiring soon, right? Here, I'm just checking less than end date is less than current date plus 30 days. It's a constant I define. And the document type, I'm saying using index asset type, or I mean, probably I'm given a wrong name here, but the index name is the same which I just showed you, end date something. We have to explicitly mention use this index, then only it will use. Otherwise, it will just behave as a normal query. It will just go through all the records inside the database itself. So this is all about the indexes actually. Any other question? Okay. Rohit is asking, will this recording be publicly available? Yes, yes. Um, Ravi has already given like all the links and everything he is adding on the Hyperledger India chapter page. So everything will be available. All the resources, these three recordings for last three sessions. Yeah, Ravi has already responded. Sorry, I did not see it.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a doubt. Actually, I joined late. Can you tell me like how many peers basically we are considering in this example?
Only one peer for each organization, but you can have multiple as well if you have such kind of use case.
Okay, so like suppose if we want to have a transaction from a peer of one organization to another. So how it will be done? Like
Okay. Okay. So this is the first time you are joining the session.
yes,
Okay.
but I have the
Yeah.
sound knowledge of little knowledge of Hyperledger Fabric.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I already explained the transaction flow for the Hyperledger Fabric in the last two sessions. But yeah, just I will give a brief in a couple of minutes here. Okay, you can see right there are two organization, one ordering organization. I as a user from the organization one, I'm just invoking the transaction by creation of the agreement. So this data will get sent to the API. API will just create a signed proposal on the behalf of this user and send back to the his own organization peer. Now in the Fabric 2.3 and above, the transaction flow got changed. Peer is responsible for collecting all the endorsements. As per the endorsement policy, if the transaction requires two endorsements, this peer will do the endorsement first. I mean, one endorsement will be done by peer zero, and one more endorsement is required. The peer will send the same transaction to the other endorsing peer from the organization too. Their validation will happen, like whether user is authorized, whether user has sufficient permission to do this, and the transaction is valid or not. Once it is done, peer will just create a read sheet and write sheet and sign the proposal. Sign the proposal is nothing but the endorsement and send back to the peer. Meanwhile, this peer also do the same thing and he wait for the sufficient endorsement. If our chain code require two endorsement, if he received two endorsement, then he send just sign the proposal. Sorry, this endorsement proposal response to the orderer by collecting all the endorsements and all. Orderer just wait and just order this transaction in a chronologically. and just create a block as per the configuration we defined in the config.yaml file. He will create a block and send this block get fetched from the peers, committing peers automatically. This peer will just check whether this orderer is valid or not, who has signed the block. They will just decode all the transactions from the block and do the again validation one more. Like which validation generally they do, they will just take the transaction, they check whether this transaction has sufficient endorsements or not. If yes, each endorsement is valid or not, if everything goes well, then data get added into the ledger. Ledger, it means current state database and the chain of the block. Any doubt on this? Like you have any doubt, like any phase?
Like I got this, but while coding, like how we will do it?
Okay, for while coding, so we don't need to do a lot of things. Okay, in agreement service, okay, I will just give you a brief on this API side. Okay, front end will hit to this API. Okay, here is the create agreement. Sorry, yeah, create agreement. So create agreement, we have the service, right? This create agreement. So inside actually this service, we are doing everything. We are creating the specific object for that particular agreement, like type of contract, title, owner, doesn't matter. It could be any kind of JSON value. And here I'm creating the contract object. Create contract object, I'm passing the channel name, the chain code name. There is one more method for this, where I'm just getting the wallet, CCP, everything, and finally returning one contract object. Once I have that contract object, so using that contract object, I'm submitting the transaction. So that's it. You have to do this only thing. The all the steps what I explained, it will happen internally. We don't need to worry on that.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just a straightforward.
Okay. I have one more doubt.
Yeah, please. Yeah, please. Right, go ahead.
Okay. So like we can chain code, like we can bind the multiple contracts in a chain code at the same time. So like if a transaction is happening, so will suppose we have binded two smart contracts in a chain code. So will both the smart contracts will be executed at the same time if we do any transaction, or we can have options?
No.
Like
Okay. So there you have to pass appropriate name. Here I will show you. Okay, this is the function, right? Submit transactions. When you are submitting the transaction, this is okay. Within a chain code, you have multiple smart contract you are seeing, right?
yes. If we are considering
Yeah.
multiple smart contracts.
Yeah. So here you have to pass the smart contract name colon function name. This is first agreement. Sorry, first parameter.
Okay.
Yeah, one doubt. Here,
Yeah.
like which library you're using, like this Fabric Gateway or the Fabric network?
Okay, this is the
package for
latest one.
implementing
Like
this?
Fabric Gateway we are using actually. Let me just show you. This is everything is the latest 2.5 version,
Latest
and
2.5. Okay.
whatever they are recommending, I am just using that only because again it will
But
get updated
for
if I'm.
okay, but for I read like for connection profile is not needed for this Fabric Gateway if you're using. So then
Sorry,
why the connection
was it not?
connection profile is not needed if you are using Fabric Gateway? Isn't it like that? But here you are
Connection
using the
profile.
connection profile.
Yes. Okay, connection profile. Connection profile is required because see in the if you are using Fabric Gateway for getting the contract objects, I will just explain the flow here. Okay.
For register and enroll purpose, that is like
No.
using Fabric CA client.
Certificate authority, that is also required because connection profile have peer information. Okay, just let me go through that flow again.
No, like my doubt is like in version 2.3 or 2.4, they have introduced this Fabric Gateway, that is gRPC enabled peer is incorporated, isn't it?
Yes.
So if you are using that, then no need of connection profile like that, what I read.
No, okay. In the transaction flow, you can see how API will know where to send a transaction, right? That is the first entry point we require. Previously, what used to happen, API, okay. So again, there are two things. First one, 2.3 and beyond, and
Yes,
less
fabric
than
gateway,
2.3. Yeah, that is the fabric gateway, and fabric
Yes.
network is 2.2 and
Two,
less than the
yeah,
one.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So first I will explain now. In the fabric network up to 2.2, what used to happen? This user sent they send a transaction to the API server. The API server use discovery service and just check how many endorsing pairs up and running and everything they used to get. And API
By
used
looking into
to
the
send
connection profile,
no
they
connection.
will.
See, connection profile is used for first thing, getting the sufficient data. Anchor pair
Okay.
we will have in each organization. Previously, this API server used to get data from that pair itself, and pair used to give these are the endorsing pair, and these are up and running. Now you can send transaction directly to this endorsing pair itself, and this API server used to do directly. Now
Yes.
in 2.3 and above, still we need to have the information, right? I need to send some transaction to somewhere. I will send this to my peer, and peer does everything. Getting the endorsement, who is up and running. The discovery is getting used probably internally here in the 2.3 and above. But entry point we
Yes.
require. So in the okay, this one. Okay, get client, get identity, and get signer. These are the three methods we have. Get client will just check. Get client, it means the peer actually I was just checking. TLS credentials, I'm just getting the from the CCP, I'm just getting the entry point for the peer. What I mean, where I will be sending the transaction. So this is require. This is I mean, we require the connection profile actually. We
Okay.
see connection profile actually. Probably you can just remove as well. That's perfectly fine. But you have to provide that specific URLs, which I have embedded into connection profile. Maybe that is misleading. Probably there is a possibility.
Because
Connection
in the
profile.
fabric samples, yeah, because the fabric samples, when this fabric net gateway is introduced, I have checked like in that particular code for the client application, I didn't see this connection
Yeah, they
profile.
hard coded. They hard coded
without,
this URL
yeah,
directly. They hard coded this
yes,
URL
yes,
directly
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Probably.
yes, yes.
I will just refactor this. Probably I will not see them connection profile. Officially, it is not required, but just static configuration for the entry point for my network. I just added,
Okay.
and I can just manage
So,
probably.
but in your code, I am seeing this fabric, this network, and also fabric CA client. Those libraries are also used. Okay, so
Fabric
that
CA
is
client
also
is
needed, or we cannot do everything with the fabric gateway alone
no Fabric CA client is different, right? For registering and enrolling
for
the user.
registering and enrolling purpose. Okay, so that
That's a
feature is
common.
not incorporated in the latest one because I said like it's deprecated, something like that. I heard this
Fabric client you
fabric
are saying?
network. Yes, fabric CA client and fabric network, the old one for
Fabric CA
client
client, I think it's
application.
not, Fabric CA client is not deprecated. That's a certificate
Only
authority of
fabric
region.
network.
Fabric
Yeah,
network
yeah.
is deprecated in 2. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
deprecated
2.3.
in
Okay, okay.
2.5.
Fabric CA
Yeah.
client is not
Uh,
deprecated. Okay, okay. Fine.
no,
So
Fabric
for
CA is a
register
general
and
purpose.
enroll, okay. So register and
Mhm.
enroll we can do only with the fabric CA client, isn't it?
Yeah,
With
this
the
is really
fabric
good point
network.
actually. I mean, so I should not have named this connection profile as name as a connection profile here. Maybe because 2.5 they're claiming we removed this and
Yes, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
leading differently little.
Because the
Okay, I
peer
will
itself
update.
is intelligent
Mhm.
enough to find out that other endorsing peers like that I read. So that's why one confusion. Yeah. Now it's clear.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Pawan.
And fabric network is deprecated. I'm not using at all, even though you are able to see the references, right? I was just checking how it is working with the existing and the latest, and I kept everything with the latest version itself, like fabric gateway.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
here.
But for register and enroll, I didn't see it is not implemented in
Fabric
Fabric Net Gateway.
fabric gateway is
We need
related
to
to
use the
hyperledger fabric.
old. Yes, yeah.
Yes, and fabric CA client is related to certificate authority. Those are standard only. That is
Registering
not
and enroll.
deprecated.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Thank you.
And at the top, you can see we are using everything. This connection and signers, everything from the fabric gateway itself.
Okay.
Some additional steps you have to do. That's it. I mean, that should be fine. I hard coded this thing, so that's why maybe confusion is happening. I will just make a little different. I mean, instead of connection profile name, probably we can just remove it. Any other question? Okay, one more thing. One more thing. So again, on the connection profile, maybe we can just rename this connection profile or static configuration, we can say, for connecting to the peer. So if you wanted to create kind of this container, so in that case, you have to make sure you are passing instead of this local host, you are passing it actually the peer, whatever the domain you're using for the peers. And I have two scripts here: generate CCP, CCP container.sh and generate CCP. This is for container, and it will automatically create this connection static configuration with the proper domain. So because when containers are communicating with Azure, they will not understand localhost. So that's why we need to provide exactly the name, and all the containers should be within the same network. That's why they will be able to identify the domain and can have a communication. That is also important thing. I did not cover that containerizing the application, but I have a dedicated let me just show you. If you guys are interested, maybe I would just give a brief on that part. Like this total course is already recorded and I hosted it at some place. Let me just show. Okay, this course I have already recorded. Sorry, this course I already recorded and hosted somewhere. If you guys are interested, just let me know. I will try to give a coupon code or something for this. So it's having the all agenda actually, what we have discussed within, but it's having more than 12 hours of recording. Introduction, fabric core concept, pre-inclusion installation, create network. Yeah, this one. Any other question? I think we're about.
There
Yeah,
is
yeah,
there is question from Karthik on chat.
okay. Okay, so Karthik, you are comfortable with the React. Okay. Okay,
Yes,
so
sir,
see
yes.
sorry.
Yes, I have experience in React.js.
And what about the hyperledger fabric, basic or like how you are
No,
familiar
sir,
with
no.
the?
I'm very beginner, sir. I don't have any idea.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so maybe initially Fabric sample is the official repository where you can just try to understand the concepts and all. And there is a Fabric sample repository, so where you can utilize and create a network and just try to learn these things like how the API part works. Are you comfortable with the Node.js or Go language? Any language?
Sir, Node.js, I have some experience.
Okay, then you should be able to create the API which I was explaining, right? This
Yes,
source
yes,
code
I
and
can do that.
everything, this source code, whatever I was showing, right? This is publicly available. Ravi will share that link. I think he has already shared everything related to that. These three sessions is already available on official this Hyperledger page. So you can just get a reference from that, and you will have everything.
Okay, 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 sir. I will check that.
Any other question or? On the deployment side, I think we are not going to cover because it requires the machines and the domain names and everything. So that part probably you guys can do, but it's just a straightforward, like it's not related to Hyperledger Fabric, but it's just kind of standard deployment we can just do, and that's it.
I want to ask one thing.
Yeah,
Hello. Yeah,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
I was trying to work on Hyperledger Composer, but I think it is now has been deprecated. So,
Yes,
but
yes.
there was a message that we can set up it on local machine. So I tried to set up on local machine as well, but there was some versions conflict which I was facing. So is it a good idea to work on that or no? No, we can skip that.
No, I would suggest not to work on the composer. It's already deprecated, and I don't know whether they are giving the support and all. So instead of
Yeah.
spending time on that, probably you can just try with this. It's a very straightforward fabric
Yeah, yeah.
sample repository. You can try, and it's really straightforward.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, one more doubt. Can we, like, if a certificate is revoked, is it possible to re-register that particular certificate?
Certificate is revoked. Revoked from where? Certificate authority, right?
Yes, yeah. If one person,
You mean expired or revoked?
revoked. If you are manually revoking that particular certificate, is it possible to re-enroll that one again? Re-register is possible.
That's a good question. Let me just check here.
If expired, we can re-enroll, that I know the process. I know. But if you are manually revoking it, is it possible to enroll it again?
Probably that scenario I did not try actually, but I will get back to you on this question. I need to check whether can we
Okay,
do it.
okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Generally, when we do the revocation, right, there is a CSR certificate, sorry, not CSR, CRL certificate revocation list, which is maintained at the certificate authority site. So
Yes.
if we delete from that, probably again I'm not sure on that. I will just get back to you. I mean, confirm answer. I was
Okay.
just guessing like we should be able to do it, but still need to confirm and then only like answer probably. It's like,
Okay,
did you
thank you.
try like any error you're getting?
No, I didn't try. Just got a just doubt. So, just-
Okay.
I didn't try.
Okay, there are no questions over LinkedIn. So
Can we get that coupon code which you were talking about?
Yeah, yeah, okay. I mean, okay, yeah, I'm just creating just a moment. Okay, this is the coupon code where you can just access it. 50% discount on that. I don't want to promote my I mean, it's not something you have to do. Everything I covered in this session itself, even if you're possible, just get all the material which is available publicly and try to understand. If you're not, then probably you can prefer to. I sent in a chat. And do not share this coupon code. It will be valid till couple of hours only, because 50% I generally never give the discount.
So are there any other questions from the participants?
Yeah, I mean, any kind of question if you face, just let me know on the LinkedIn or maybe on email. So I will be happy to answer any point of time related to hyperledger fabric. I will be happy actually. So just ask your question anytime. It's not something you have to ask right away. If you're facing later as well, it's perfectly fine.
Okay, so before closing the session, I would like to share one thing. So if you join the event lately or midway, then you can go to this particular link. So how you will go to this link? Just go to wiki.hyperledger.org. Let me go directly from here. Sometimes you do not find the link, so that case, just go to wiki.hyperledger.org, and here you just go to the particular tab, community. In community, you will find regional chapters, and in regional chapters, here is Indian chapter. So in India chapter, there are so many things. So you have to find this particular stuff. Hyperledger India chapter, Student Society. Once you go inside, at the bottom there is a link called Blockchain skillup 2024. Once you go inside, so you will find 4 sub pages. So this particular page, agenda and resource page, will bring you the information related with the course, agenda. This is the repository, the source code, prerequisites, and other stuffs. And in the second subpage, what's called Blockchain SkillUp Session 1. Session 1 is about information, and at the bottom you will find Session 1 recording. If you go to the subpage 2, you will find the recording for first and second. And if you go to subpage 3, then you will find recording of session first, second, and third. Third, we will be uploading after this particular event. I hope that this would help. And as Pawan said, that if you have any questions, curiosity in midway, then you can directly message or drop a message to the Hyperledger India Chapter Student Society or community page, or directly reach out to the Pawan, and we will try to help you in every possible manner. So this is the commitment from our side. So Pawan, any last words before we close up the session?
Okay, all right. Yeah, thank you so much again for joining this session. I know it was a little exhaustive, and I would suggest you to just do the hands-on actually, because unless you are doing the hands-on, it's little tough to understand internal things, like when you are dealing with this API communication, how the transaction is getting invoked, what kind of object it is getting created, what different information how this contract submission of the transactions. Once you are familiar with that, then I'm sure you will be able to understand the whole fabric, and any kind of use case you can just implement on your own itself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you, everybody, and we will try to organize similar session for other Hyperledger project as well in the upcoming weeks and months. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.